Welcome in to King Whale's album review party. Today I'm here with my host, Ty, once again. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, Dreamville. It's a sad day.
Is this how we're gonna start all depressing like?
I'm
Oh.
starting depressed. I,
Well, you probably know why we're depressed. It's because we are talking about J. Cole's album Might Delete Later. Which,
Mhm.
again, usually when you're talking about J. Cole, it's a good thing
Most of the time,
most of the time. But there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot
there's
to
a lot to
unpack.
unpack. Should we
So
start with the Kendrick in the room?
I think we had with the Kendrick in the room. I think we have to because that's why he dropped this album, right?
That's
Like if
the
Kendrick didn't do
the
that diss,
core.
he wouldn't have dropped it.
Hmm.
So, as we all know, on Metro Boomin's Like That with Future, Kendrick absolutely bodied Drake and J. Cole with one line.
Hmm.
Mother, I think he referenced first person shooter in it. But basically he said,
Yeah.
forget the big three. It's just big me. Except
Hmm.
he didn't say forget. And it kind of sent shockwaves again because like J. Cole was like trying to compliment Kendrick basically uh on his track with Drake, and Kendrick just basically slapped him across the face. And so last time when Kendrick had a diss
And
that
and
like,
J. Cole said, "Thank you, good sir. Can I have another one?"
do it again please.
Please, here's my other cheek.
Oh my
Can
God.
you even it out for me?
And so it's like, so I'm like, where do we even begin?
So
So on
let's
the
where how do you feel 7 minute drill, his J. Cole's response to Kendrick's diss? And this is J. Cole's diss. A whole track, just himself attempting to diss at Kendrick. Will, what are your thoughts?
So years ago, Kendrick did something similar with Control. And I know we already talked about that, but like he
Mhm.
specifically called out a bunch of rappers and basically told them, I'm better than you and I'm going to take all of your fans. And I want to make
Mhm.
sure that people want to listen to me before they want to listen to you because you
Mhm.
suck. I'm better. And it was like, wow, no one's like really no one's like just started a hip hop beef like that before. Like there have been hip hop beefs, Jay-Z, Nas, and beefs will start organically, like someone's crew messes with someone else's or something like that. A lot of beefs like start from like actual reasons. Kendrick, there was literally nothing going on, and Kendrick just decided, I'm gonna diss all these rappers for literally seeming like no reason.
Mhm.
And none of the rappers that he called out really responded. Like Pusha
Mhm.
T, I think the best response was Pusha T because he
Mhm.
tweeted, all he did was tweet after that verse and just said, I see you, Kendrick. And it was like, perfect. Or no, I think
Mhm.
he just said, like, he said something like point noted or like point taken. Like, I
Mhm.
got you. I hear you. Something like
Mhm.
that. And I think that was the classiest and the best response because it didn't say that, like, you're right. And it didn't say that you're wrong either. It was just like, we're going to let our music speak for itself. It was like,
Right.
okay, understood. And
Understood.
so the only rapper to actually respond was actually J. Cole. Thing
Mhm.
is, he didn't respond until I think it was almost a year later. And it was in this song, like a Black Friday remix of a Justin Timberlake song. It was like a TKO remix, and like ASAP Rocky, Pusha T, and J. Cole were all on it. And J.
Mhm.
Cole's response was like, it was weird. He like described himself going home with a girl, and she was listening, or like her roommate was listening to that long verse from Control, and he was like, "Oh no, not you too." And then he didn't really like respond to it. He just kind of talked about how tired he was of people talking about it. Okay,
Mhm.
so that's the preface, and we need to know that because that's important for what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Um,
All right. Is everyone buckled in? Because
is everyone ready?
Will's about to go deep.
As far as 7 minute drill, like while I don't think his whole album should be called like I think his whole album called Might Delete Later is like applicable, but like for that
Hmm.
specific song, he should have called it Should Delete Later. because 7 minute drill didn't really work.
Mhm.
Because the problem is, I love J. Cole, love him. He's one of my top artists, one of my huge inspirations. But in this case, it's one of those things he should have just left alone or
Mhm.
came stronger or just came like, I don't know, more precise.
Mhm.
Because again, Kendrick did it in a couple of lines. Like if Cole could have found a cool way to respond with just like a couple of lines, it felt like he felt a lot of pressure to respond, and he ended up doing his own like long verse for the response, and it felt like he kind of just like dissed himself with the verse.
Mhm.
Because on the verse on 7 minutes later on 7 minute drill, he raps that like Kendrick's last album was tragic.
Mhm.
Okay, Mr. Morale and the was it Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers?
Big steppers.
Big Steppers. It wasn't that memorable. It was all right. I think it's still better than most rap albums and a lot of people put out. And a lot of critics loved it, but you could kind of tell like it wasn't buzzing. It wasn't like Good Kid, Mad City. It wasn't To Pimp a Butterfly. I don't even think it was really Section 80. So like
Mhm.
going after that album, that's fine. That's fine. Then he said your first album was a classic. Now, do you think he was talking about, it's kind of hard because like technically Section 80 was his debut album, but when he released Section 80, I'm pretty sure his label was still independent, and his second album, Good Kid, Mad City, when it first came out, it was labeled as his debut album because it was his debut album with a big label, because that's when his label kind of got absorbed into another label.
Yeah, I'm really bad about tracking labels, so I originally thought it was Section 80. I think now I'm more of the opinion that I think he meant Good Kid, Mad City. Um, Either way, with the follow-up verse, your second put people to sleep, but they gassed it. Regarding either Good Kid, Mad City or To Pimp a Butterfly is just factually incorrect.
It's
Like that's
yeah.
just the like of all the things to go after, why? Why would you ever go after either of those albums? Most likely To Pimp a Butterfly. Why would you go after To Pimp a Butterfly?
I and
One of the most like celebrated hip hop albums.
of all time. And like I could understand maybe going for is like there's a lot of debate on which album is better. Is To Pimp a Butterfly better than is To Pimp a Butterfly better than Good Kid, Mad City, or
Hmm.
like, and that has some merit to its debate, people going
Hmm.
back and forth on that. But that's not, but like no one would ever say that like they fell asleep to Pimp a Butterfly, because you just don't like it's too good. And like
It's and like to me, I feel like that line is equally as iconic as Kendrick saying it's just big me, but for the opposite reason.
yeah.
Kendrick doing that felt iconic. It felt all encompassing for the diss. Just like one line, boom, perfect, concise, summed up his whole point, and it elevated the diss. Here, like I feel like that's the only thing I'm paying attention to because of how wrong it is, how bad of a rebuttal it is, and how detrimental it feels like it's playing to Cole.
And I feel like, yeah, it's like all it says is like, oh, hey, you don't really have good taste in music. And like, and like later on, he has way more legit disses of Kendrick in the track. Like he talks about how like, everybody only talks about him when he's dissing somebody, which, is not really that accurate, but you could say like in the past 5 years, that's true, because no one really talked about Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Mhm.
And so no one's really talked about Kendrick that much since he released his third album. So you could say he's only doing this, like you kind of could have went for that angle, but going after one of the greatest rap albums of all time was not smart.
I really don't like this track. I don't think J. Cole likes it. And we'll get into that whole apology thing later. But I just think like even fundamentally this isn't a interesting or good song. Like I don't like the beat switch. Like I hate the first beat. I
He
enjoyed the
should have
second
stuck
beat.
with the second beat. Yeah, he
Why did he
sounded
have the
way
first
better.
beat at all? It was trash. And then he switched it to a good beat that should have just
Hmm.
been the entire song. The like the structure of the verse, the first verse feels like the one that's more targeted as a diss, and the second verse feel like it's more of a reflection of why I need to diss. It's like it feels like in the song itself, he's gassing up how hard, oh, I could get Kendrick so good. Oh, I could say something so detrimental. Then do it. Then say it in the diss.
Uh,
J. Cole, this is a diss track. You are supposed to fight back, but he didn't. He has no fangs. There is no teeth in this thing. It is it is boring and
and
it
like
should be deleted.
it I've it's like I and again I like the beat and he has some good lines in there, switching sides like a tassel on the cap and gown, and the way he rhymed it with blasphemous sounds, like that is a legit rhyme. That is a legit line. That is awesome. Like the phonics and everything and the flow and the delivery. But it's like, and that wasn't part of the diss. It's like you did everything well on this track except for diss Kendrick.
Yeah.
It's that's not really a beef. And you're
Like,
right. Like when I first heard the beat start, I was like, okay, and like the chorus, I'm sorry, the chorus is trash. Like
mhm.
I can't,
Really dumb chorus.
I cannot get with it. And it's like his second verse, like that's where J. Cole lives. And that's why I didn't like KOD, because I feel like he kind of got caught up in the trap genre. And I loved his verse on First Person Shooter. And I was like, oh, okay, J. Cole's like, this is a legitimately really good verse on a trap song. Um, and because I always felt like KOD, he kind of got like caught up in the trap phase, which is not something you really say about J. Cole because usually he doesn't get caught up in that stuff. But on his later albums, he got back to his root, those more soulful instrumentals where he really just sounds confident and at his peak. It kind of sounded like on that first verse, it sounded like, and I hate to say this about him, but it sounded like he didn't really know what he was doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's what I got. It's like kind of felt like he was in foreign territory, and it's just kind of the feeling. It's like he felt like he didn't really know what he was doing.
Well, and I think I mean, that's something just like by the nature of a diss, like it's kind of out of nowhere. Like Kendrick is starting it. Um, it kind of puts Cole into a defensive position.
Hmm.
And, you can get blindsided, not necessarily your best work coming with it. I think for me, the thing, like in his second verse where he says, my text flooded with the hunger for a toxic reply. I'm hesitant. I love my brother, but I'm not like gonna lie. I'm powered up for real. This would feel like I'm swatting a fly. It doesn't feel like he's powered up. Like he keeps posturing himself as like, oh man, I'm gonna gas, I'm so good. And he does nothing.
And I feel like
If
yeah, go ahead.
it doesn't feel, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like he even wants to do this. Like I genuinely don't think that J.
Mm-mm.
Cole was like, you know what, this is a great diss. I'm putting my stamp of approval on it. Like this is some of my best work. I don't think he feels that way. Like, and of course, now with hindsight, we can see that he didn't feel that way. But
Oh.
like, why put it out at all? Why do anything? Saying nothing would have been better.
Exactly. Because look at Drake. He didn't say anything, and he's doing other cheek, please. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
fine. And like you could sell because, and he says it on the song, like my text got flooded with the hunger for a toxic reply.
Mm-hmm.
And I get all those people saying like yo, you gotta diss him, you gotta bring it back. It's very hard to diss Kendrick at this stage. It's
Hmm.
very hard to find something good to diss Kendrick on. Like
Yeah.
the Jay-Z and Nas beef was so good because they were able to like find the weaknesses and like really go at it. And again, dissing Kendrick is just very difficult. And J. Cole should have just been like, nah, I'm
Because
not going to. I don't need to.
let's even look at what does he even say about Kendrick that his second album or his latest album was bad, that his second album was boring, but people hyped it up too much. He
Mm.
makes a comment about him being too short to box with a god. So he's just saying he's short. Like these are it's very tame. It's so
Yeah.
and he drops a hard verse like every 30 months. He has a hard line every couple of years.
But again, you know what that just says? Quality over quantity.
Right.
It's like that's not a diss, J. Cole. Like,
Yeah, that's just like a different approach because he says F the Grammys because them crackers ain't never done nothing for me. I like that line, but in the context of trying to diss Kendrick with it is like, oh, screw your or not your commercial, your critical success and acclaim
yeah, like
and
screw the fact
people.
that you gotta, and it's like you can't even diss that about Kendrick because like Kendrick has been snubbed by the Grammys for Good Kid, Mad City by a
Hmm.
crack. Oh, no, I'm gonna say by a cracker, but by a white guy, like because the heist
Hmm.
won over it. So it's like not only has Kendrick experienced
Forgot
being
about that.
snubbed,
The
he's
heist one. Oh,
over Good Kid, Mad City. It was insane. But
forgot about that.
Kendrick has already experienced what it's like to be snubbed by the Grammys. So you can't diss him on it because he's already been through it. And then he's also won a Grammy. So,
Hmm.
like, these kind of things make him a little bit untouchable. And, like, going back to 2013 on Control, like, a lot of rappers decided they wanted to get in because they felt like Kendrick should have put them in that category. There was a lot of rappers he didn't reference obviously because there are a lot of rappers in there, and if he had referenced all of them the track would have been like 30 minutes. But anyway,
Hmm.
so one of those rappers like Lupe Fiasco decided to respond because he felt snubbed, like I should have been in that group. Now Lupe was not in the same class as the rappers that Kendrick came out with because Lupe
Hmm.
had already been established by the time Kendrick was kind of still coming up. Like Lupe had already been was working on his third album when Kendrick was just being discovered.
Hmm.
So on his diss, he had one line. He had a whole song, but there's only one line that really dissed Kendrick, and it was like, um, "Look at his baby," and he's like, "You're not Nas, you're not Jay Z," um, and he's like, "You will." I think he said like, "You will reject me, you will deflect me," but he said, "I've done so much that no matter where you go, you will reflect me." And
Hmm.
like that was a good line because it wasn't like it was a diss, but it wasn't that strong of a diss. But Lupe was basically
Hmm.
saying like, no matter what you do, I
Hmm.
paved the way for you.
Right.
I brought a lot of lyrical rap. You know, I
Hmm.
brought a lot of it to the forefront, made it exciting again, and you just kind of piggybacked off of that. So it's like
Hmm.
your success will be my success.
You're
But it's
welcome.
like, yeah, right? It's like acknowledging what he's done, but at the same time, kind of taking credit for what he's done. And
Hmm.
I mean, Lupe did come before Kendrick, so you know, I'm not going to say like they're on the same level success wise, but it's like you
Hmm.
can't really deny that Lupe came before Kendrick.
Hmm.
So, in a way, you could argue that hey, everything he's done was paved the way by someone, because a lot of people will say like artists have had, but again, he did it in one line. He didn't say anything that was dumb, like,
Yeah.
and again, back then, Kendrick, this was 2013. He wasn't quite as prolific as he is now.
Hmm.
But I just J. Cole should have left it alone. Because there are some hitters on this album, like Pie is a dope track with Absol,
Hmm.
and J. Cole is like tearing it apart. But Seven
Hmm.
Minute Drill really tears this whole album down. And the whole point of the album was kind of for 7 Minute Drill to get out there. I mean, like, there's no
Right.
way to deny that.
Right.
So, like, I guess my message to Cole was like, you shouldn't delete the album, but you should delete 7 Minute Drill
Seven
off
minute
of it.
drill.
If you need
Hmm.
some advice, just go ahead and click.
So what do you make of his apology after the fact? What do you think is worse, really?
Oh,
The
it's
the
a
the
hundred
diss
percent
or
worse.
the apology
100%
afterwards?
worse. 100% worse.
The
And like,
apology.
yeah. And I don't think it's a career killing move. Because I think J. Cole's at a point where, like, unless he gets put in jail or something, like, it's not gonna destroy his career,
He's
right?
yeah, he's too big to fail like that
Yeah.
from a clumsy diss and apology.
But it's like, as far as like respect in the rap game, like, there's no, oh, Kendrick versus J. Cole, who you got? There's no who you got. There's
Hmm.
no competition anymore. Like, even if you do like create a trash diss and you realize that it's trash afterwards,
Hmm.
you just kind of got to wait it out and let it just like fall off. But apologizing for it, it makes it look so much worse. So
Yeah.
much worse. It's it's hard to explain because, like, we kind of like, obviously we think the diss was bad at first, but it's like, at least stick by it. Like,
Right. Yes. Absolutely. Like if you're going to say something, say it with your chest. Like mean what you say. The fact that you felt pressured to fire this admitted even in the track he admits it's kind of like a warning shot. Um so what does that mean? It's a half diss? Like it is, but it
it
isn't.
was a,
J-
it's like
Just
it's
make a diss or be like Drake and just stay out of it.
it's
Because I think in hindsight, part of what excited me about Kendrick's shot is this idea that we got a good feud from like these high caliber artists that we're gonna see some words fly because it doesn't mean anything in like the grand scheme of things. Like it's part of this like hype cycle and it's kind of
mhm.
just fun to watch from the outside. But with the way J. Cole has handled his rebuttal, it this feels like nothing. Like this feels boring now. It's no longer something that's interesting. It's sad and weird to see him respond like this. It's just
It's like, this was like a warning shot, but there weren't any bullets in the gun. If this was a warning shot, he just fired a blank.
it was a
He didn't
blank.
even pull the trigger, Ty. He didn't even pull, he was just like, I got a gun. There's no
Pew, pew,
bullets. Here's your warning shot. It was a BB gun. He fired a warning shot with a BB gun. With a paintball gun. It's like, it's one of those things. It's like, I feel like, also looking at the disc, like, again, I always felt like the disc wasn't exactly for J. Cole. I feel like the
Yeah,
disc was always Kendrick aimed at Drake, because I feel like Kendrick likes taking shots at Drake and trying to expose him as like a soft rapper. And I feel like
right,
J. Cole was just kind of in the way. Like, it could have
right,
been anybody on this track who said that. And Kendrick is like, no, I'm in a different category than Drake. And again, the Drake Kendrick beef is really interesting because Kendrick is like, I've won a Pulitzer. All of my albums have been critically acclaimed.
hmm
People consider me to be one of the greatest artists of my generation. And Drake's like, I'm the number 5 artist in the world. What number are you?
hmm
30 something?
right.
Guess what
It,
number J. Cole is?
what?
70 something. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's impressive,
It's top 100, but still,
but that's not 5. And that's not in the
that
30s.
you know what it's kind of like? It feels like Kendrick shot at Drake, and then J. Cole jumped in front of the bullet for him. like like why did
No.
no like why did you die? Why is this the hill that you're gonna die on? And then in his
Yeah.
dying breath he's saying, oh man, really shouldn't have done
Done
that.
that. Like, all those people that texted J. Cole, like, man, you got to get in there. You got to respond. He should have been like, nah, man, I think this is really between Drake and Kendrick.
Yeah,
Like, And like again, you could argue that J. Cole is the big three, like the third one, but
Hmm.
it's like, like when the Miami Heat had like Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and Chris Bosh. Like
Hmm.
again, I'm sorry, but J. Cole is definitely Chris Bosh in this scenario.
In the in that
It's
trio.
in that trio. And like anyone that understands basketball knows that like usually when you have a big three, you always have like the third member.
Hmm.
And to me, when Kendrick was saying like it's just Big Me, I don't feel like he was delivering that diss at the third member. That would be like again, Dwayne Wade and LeBron James and Chris Bosh, and LeBron James is like, I'm the big one here. Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh is like, nah, man, what about me? And it's like we weren't really talking about
We weren't really talking about
you.
you, buddy.
Yeah, it's just
They added a third just to make him feel more comfortable.
and like people always said like that was the big three, but like again, it's big three, like relatively speaking. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just it's sad because I love J. Cole and I really respect him as an artist and the things that he does and the way that he like looks in the industry and he's discovered that like, hey, he's talked about like some of these songs that we're making, all we're doing is just trying to make money because they make money and they're really killing us. Like he says a lot of stuff about the industry that people won't just come out and say. Like Drake hasn't said that. Even Kendrick hasn't said that. He said it similarly through his music, but like J. Cole
Hmm.
has come out and said it. And I
Hmm.
feel like I don't know if this is gonna lose him like a lot of fans. I don't think even like I'm
I
not
don't
gonna stop listening to J. Cole's music because of this.
know. And I feel kind of like to the opposite. Like I feel like when it was starting, from what I was seeing, is like like all the respective fans of their artist were kind of digging their heels in, like
Yeah.
preparing for something harder. All the Kendrick fans were like, oh, screw you guys. And all
Yeah.
the Cole fans were getting
Hmm.
ready to retaliate. And the Drake fan,
I'm in a group chat with some guys, and some of them are hardcore J. Cole guys. Some of them are hardcore Kendrick guys. And the problem is, J.
Mhm.
Cole, you didn't give your fans anything to support this beef because
Yeah.
now all the J. Cole guys, like in my group chat with guys I grew up with, they're like, okay, Kendrick, yeah, you kind of won. So like J. Cole
Yeah.
fans, you're right. It is a what is Nightmareville?
Nightmare. Because that's what they're living right now.
The main people I feel bad for are the because I wanted to go to Dreamville because I live in Charlotte and it's in Raleigh. It's not too far away. I was gonna get one of my
Mhm.
friends. So glad I didn't go. I'm sorry, but like if I drove 2 hours and paid $500 to see J. Cole apologize for his diss track, I probably would have wanted a refund. Those are the only people I feel bad for in this. Just the people that drop that much money to
to
see
go
that.
to go see him. I think long term, the only thing this tells me is that the fall off better be one of the greatest albums ever made when
I
it
hope so.
eventually comes out, because I feel like J. Cole needs that boost now more than ever.
Yeah. And again, I don't think his career is going to end, but
No.
he may not do numbers as high as he usually does. And I think it's going to be hard for him to continue pulling in new fans and trying to climb up that ladder, so to speak.
So we've talked a lot about the diss itself. How do you feel about Might Delete Later as an actual album, aside aside from this diss?
Well, like I mentioned before, I think there's some killer tracks on there. I love the one. I'm a huge fan of Absol, obviously, and
Hmm.
I think that the song he did with J. Cole called Pie.
Hmm.
I think there's some incredible
With
lines on
Daylight,
there. Huh?
with Daylight.
With Daylight. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. With Daylight. And I thought that line, like when J. Cole, and I love the way he set up the track, let Absol and Daylight have the first verse and they kind of went back and forth. And then it was
Yeah,
like, okay, J. Cole is here. Like that was, and I feel like that would have been the perfect style of a track to kind of put the diss on, especially if you have
sure.
like Kendrick's label mate on there. Now,
Right.
maybe I don't know how Absol would have felt about that. He probably wouldn't have cared as long as he got paid for the feature. So,
Hmm.
I feel like that would have been. But again, he had entendres and everything. He said like that guy off of Jumanji. They know that he rock, and that was just one of
Hmm.
those effortless lines that he just did over and over and over again. And but again, he wasn't trying to diss anyone with it. He was just rapping for the sake of rapping.
Yeah,
And
Kendrick sounds best when he's, or J. Cole sounds best when he's not trying too hard. Like at least in appearance, it feels very effortless from him, and that's when I think he operates at his highest.
yeah, I mean, it's like even if you go back to that, the last time J. Cole like dissed somebody was like I talked about earlier, the TKO Black Friday uh remix.
Hmm.
And he was like he just showed that he likened the whole thing to like he was with a girl and she was playing that song, and he's like, if this is war, I'm a kill them all.
Hmm.
And he was saying like all the stuff he's done, like he's produced a bunch of tracks and stuff like that. um and he's gotten very impressive. I mean, at this point in his career, like he's a Jay-Z was the one who put him on, and now he's a bigger
Hmm.
artist than Jay-Z.
Hmm.
Which is just facts. I mean, and that's something that he could um like use. But the sad part is like, okay, but you're still not a bigger artist than Kendrick, and now I don't ever really see that happening,
Yeah.
kind of because of what you just did.
Yeah. It kind of feels like he's cemented that positioning. If there is a big three, I think the way he's handled it has kind of cemented. There's no way that he's number one
So who would you
after
say
all
the
of
big
this.
three are? Do you feel like you have a big three?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I have a big three. I'm not sure if I'm plugged in enough outside of like my circle enough to fully know who the big three would be. Um, of the ones mentioned, I think Kendrick would definitely be my favorite there.
Out of the top, yeah. And
Yeah.
to me, it's
How
like
about
for different reasons. Because again, you know, it's like the reason why Kendrick and Drake are perfectly, um, perfectly, what's the best way to put it? It's like that they're perfectly juxtaposed, is because you can't forget the commercial success. Because again, as much as art is about art, like as an artist, it's
hmm
also a business. It's your profession, it's what you do. And so
hmm
having a lot of commercial success is huge. Like that's a very big part of it. But
hmm
also people know that making good projects doesn't always necessarily translate to commercial success. And
hmm
Kendrick has put himself in the perfect position where he's carved out so much commercial success while still staying true to his artistic form. So again, to
Right.
me, the battle between him and Drake is very, very interesting,
hmm
because Kendrick can diss Drake's lyrics, he can call him soft, he can do everything he can do, and Drake, all he has to do is go,
Drake's still gonna sell out
there's Taylor, Ariana, there's me, and then
hmm
there's a bunch of other people, and then you.
behind
Like
me.
again,
Hmm.
Drake has transcended. Like I don't like. Oh, this is gonna be a. This is gonna. We're not even talking. This is
Which
supposed to
is
be
the
a review for J. Cole's album. We're not even
we're
talking about
barely
J.
even
Cole
talking
anymore.
about him because and I feel like that's a more interesting conversation to have. What's more important
Mm-hmm.
for an artist? Is it commercial appeal? Because, you could have the greatest art, but if it exists solely in a vacuum, if no one listens to it, not saying nobody listens to Kendrick, but just that if you don't reach people, what's it doing? You know,
Yeah.
it's meant to be listened to. And if you can't reach people, what's the point of it?
And I think like Drake has a legitimate argument to be like, he could claim that like Kendrick, you wouldn't be where you were. Like Drake is like the only reason where you are is because of where I took hip hop. Because like you could
Hmm.
argue that hip hop wouldn't be as popular as it is right now if it wasn't for
Hmm.
Drake. That is a very
Hmm.
strong argument that Drake can make. He brought hip hop to the number one genre in the world because
Hmm.
it wasn't when he started,
Hmm.
and now it definitely is. All
Yeah.
the guys that have had success after him, Post Malone. I don't even think Future, the guy who did the track with Kendrick, would be here if it wasn't for what Drake did. And
Hmm.
like to me, that's all interesting stuff that I would love to see Drake do a diss on and comment on and talk about his own impact.
Right.
Because like I feel like Kanye West has talked a lot about his own impact, but I feel like in a way like Drake has done more than Kanye West, but Drake doesn't really talk about it. He just continues to do it, and
Hmm.
so again, it's kind of like a back and forth because that's his personality.
Yeah.
But to me, that's way more interesting than it's hard to say for me to say like something is way more interesting than J. Cole, but
But it
it
is.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it's just a shame because it leaves me feeling like I don't know what else to say about it because it's just so disappointing. Like the everything of how it's been handled. It's like where do you go? What what do you do next?
Yeah. And I feel like the most part, it's like out of anybody, I feel like J. Cole just kind of ended up letting his fans down. Because, like I said, to me, I think
Hmm.
the album is dope, and I think anybody should listen to it, and you will enjoy it. Just kind of skip 7 minutes later or ignore whatever it's talking about.
Good thing it's the last track, so you
Yeah,
can
that helps.
you
That
can just
helps.
stop it early.
And of course, like I listened to it first because I was like, "Ooh, I got to get to this diss," and now I'm
Right.
like, "Why did I do that?" Um, because
It
yeah,
should not have been. It should have just been a single. It should have just been a single. I don't know why it needed to be attached to that
to
whole
this
album.
project, yeah, and like I said, I would have deleted the track again. He probably shouldn't have um kept it on the out. He just shouldn't have done the diss.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to go through and like see who the top because like right now on Spotify and Spotify is a small metric to use, but again, as far as filling up stadiums and arenas and stuff, like number two artist, I thought she was number one, but right now guess who the number two artist is on Spotify?
Taylor Swift.
Right. And I guess I thought she was number one, but I guess she's not.
Is
Um,
it Bad Bunny?
is it Bad Bunny? No way.
Bad Bunny is like top five.
He's number 20.
What? He's only number 20?
Hmm.
Wait, so who's number one then?
That's what I can't find out. I'm trying to look it up. Ariana, guess who's number? Well, Ariana
Ariana
Grande is
Grande?
number three. Yeah. Guess where Beyonce is?
Oh, after her new album? 7.
Close. She's number six.
Oh, okay.
So you're right there. Yeah. But like I didn't think that Drake was bigger than her, which was mad impressive.
Hmm.
Um, okay, guess who's number four?
Didn't you already say Ariana? Oh no, that's number 3.
It's number three.
Um, Boy with Uke.
Close.
Close. Oh, who was
This
it?
artist is very similar. Rihanna.
Okay.
But
Very similar. I don't know
that
how I
is
didn't get that.
incredibly impressive though, because do you remember the last time
When was the
Rihanna
last
released an
time?
album?
Yeah. Oh my God, was it 2016?
2016. You know the
Jeez.
last song she was on?
What?
Lift Me Up from Black Panther.
Really?
Yep.
It's been that long?
I mean, performing at the Grammys really probably helped. Um, but still, like that's
Wow.
insane.
Man, I can't believe it's been that long. We need some more Rihanna. Like like yesterday.
Yeah. So like if she was in this beef, she could just tear apart everybody because she's like, I ain't even dropped an album in year 2016. In 2 years, it will have been 10 years since Rihanna dropped an album. Tash.
Jeez.
It will be a decade, a entire decade.
Oh, don't age me up that much, man. Because I remember when it came out.
See, and I was thinking that the number one artist might have been Ed Sheeran, but he's actually 15.
Yeah, I feel like he's fallen off pretty, like from his pedestal. Where's Hosier in that list? Since we're not talking about J.
J.
Cole
Cole's
anymore.
album anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where's Hosier on that list?
yeah, it's not Post Malone. See, Post Malone is 25. I don't even know if Hozier is going to be in the top 100. And I think that's all
What?
Spotify will show you.
Oh, I think he would be top
Oh,
100.
okay. I stand corrected. He's number 68.
Yeah.
Okay, he's
Yeah.
68. All right. So yeah, I can't watch the number one artist be like 21 Savage or something crazy like that. I'll blow my
No,
mind. Okay.
he's not.
No.
He's not.
He is number 30. Oof. So he's actually higher than Kendrick and Drake. Should he be in the big three?
No.
No. Yeah. We probably took too long to answer that, but we were just making funny faces in case you were listening, not watching us.
I had to think about it for a second.
I had to make that clear, yeah.
So where are you looking to see?
I'm just finding their page on Spotify and just at the bottom it'll tell you like what number artists they are in the whole world. Oh my God, is it could Olivia
Are you
Rodrigo be the
sure?
number one?
Are you sure it's not Taylor Swift?
No, it's not Olivia Rodrigo. I checked and she is not. Um,
Could it be
Here,
The
let me share my
Weeknd?
screen so you can see it. I wish there was like a list so we could see it because now this is gonna bother me. Go ahead and share that for you. Yeah, since we're not talking about because again, the conversation between artistry and popularity is a great conversation to have. Um, yeah, see, she's number two. And it doesn't like give you a list that you can click on or see. It's just she's number two.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, because that's a great conversation to have, right? And like that's something I don't see Kendrick ever becoming the number five artist in the world, right? But I
Yeah,
also don't ever see Drake winning a Pulitzer.
right.
So it's like between those two, that's again a great debate and a great thing. Like that's cool to like see that debate and see them going against each other. But again, J. Cole, like I could see Drake. I mean, I feel like I could see J. Cole winning a Pulitzer before Drake does. But again, like, is J. Cole ever going to get to even close to where Drake's been?
Commercially?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I doubt it.
me too. And again, like, yeah, J. Cole just he should have kind of stayed out of it. I wish that he did. And I feel bad for all of his like, because again, I'm a very big J. Cole fan, but like there are some people that think like J. Cole saved hip hop, and I'm not one
Hmm.
of those guys. But um, I thought it was Justin Bieber for a second, but nah, Justin Bieber is not even close. He's number 8.
Hmm.
So yeah, Drake's bigger than him. So yeah, I thought I just feel bad. Like there are a lot of people that feel like, oh yeah, Drake's gonna save hip hop. And I mean, like, he's done a lot for hip hop, but there's no really comparison that I feel like I will say I feel like Drake has done more for hip hop than J. Cole has. And
Yeah.
Kendrick, I feel like it's not even close.
Yeah.
I hate to say that, like, if you can't say nothing nice, don't say anything at all, because this isn't what one of those situations. It's just if you don't have anything worthwhile to say, just don't say anything else at all.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the category that this falls into.
Well, is there anything else in a closing remarks kind of way that you have for
I guess not. I was hoping we'd find this mysterious number one artist before maybe the number one artist is Spotify itself.
maybe the number one artist is the friends we made along the way?
That was the cheesiest. Okay. All right.
I think maybe it's a little messed up. I don't think there's anyone that has surpassed Taylor Swift.
I don't think so
I don't. I think
either.
it's just I think there's something weird. I
It's
can't
like
picture.
construed. Yeah, but like, does that mean everybody moves up? Like it's Taylor, Ariana, Rihanna, and then Drake? Like he's really number four?
I guess, yeah.
I guess, yeah. Either way, I mean, like I
But
said, I don't see another rapper touching him in what he's done for a very long time.
right.
So yeah, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
that will. Oh, maybe no, it's not Eminem. Maybe it is. But yeah, I mean, I guess there's not really much else to do to close it out. Yeah, I didn't think it was.
Well, we'll be here for the next week trying to figure out who
Trying to
the number
find this
one
out.
listed artist is. Maybe it's King Whale.
You know what? It is Kingwell. They're probably just too humble to admit it
He's the number one of the big three in
of
my
the big
heart.
three. Yeah, why didn't Kendrick diss me? Like, I'm here. I
That's
say
what
go
you
make
gotta
a
do.
diss track.
Yeah, go make a Kendrick diss track real quick.
Well, on the bright side, it can't be worse than 7 minute drill.
Yikes.
Did I just go there?
Ugh.
Well, again, I'm not gonna even like I didn't like Kendrick's third album that much, but it still won a Pulitzer. So like if I was crafting a diss track, I probably wouldn't have even went after that one. And that one he said that he was in his prime. But like
Hmm.
I could see you dissing that album way more than I could see you dissing
To Pimp a Butterfly.
To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
So, and Kendrick did like he didn't drop an album between 2017 and 2022 because he actually he was working on the Black Panther soundtrack. Like that was
Hmm.
kind of like his next album. And he did some
Right.
really great things with it. So
Hmm.
I just pray for J. Cole fans.
Yeah.
Hopefully they recover from all
They're
this.
they're hurting. Hope the fall off lives up to the hype.
Oh, it better because I don't it's just like it's ironic because this album is the fall off. And Kendrick is literally just sitting back and he's like this could potentially be J. Cole's fall off. Like imagine if
Hmm.
it only does like half the numbers it was projected to do on streaming or anything else. And it literally is a fall off. And literally Kendrick didn't have to do anything.
He did it to
He just
himself.
he just sat back. It's like fighting with someone and watching them trip over their own feet as they're running up to
Hmm.
you. It's insane.
Hmm.
It's insane.
It's
Yeah.
insane and tragic.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us on King Mel's album review party. Continue to send us suggestions on what we should do next. We still got to do our Thundercat album, but I'm trying to get a good friend of ours to join on it with us, which is why we've kind of pushed it back. And then we had like a request, and then J. Cole did his whole thing, and we couldn't just let that go. So we're
Hmm.
still not sure what we're gonna do
Unlike J.
next week.
Cole, you couldn't just let it go.
I'm like, oh, that's the perfect way to wrap this up. So we're still not entirely sure what we're gonna do next week. So leave a comment if you have a suggestion. Because we'll probably figure it out by then. If our friend can hop on the one for Thundercat, then we'll do that. But if you have a suggestion, let us know. And
Hmm.
until next time, hopefully when we review the fall off, we'll have better things to say about J. Cole.
Hopefully, only better things from here.
I'm like, I feel blasphemous just saying this, but it's got to be said because if it's not me, who else is going to say it? If it's not us, who else is going to say it?
Who else is going to say it?
Who else is going to bring the truth?
Who else is going to treat the power?
Amen.
No one else. I'll tell you that.
Yes, I'll tell you that. No one else. So yeah, man. I guess until next time, guys.
Until next time.